Abbey of St. Carta has been the subject of discussion in every corner of the world because of the horror movie The Nun.
Tell me about the history of this abbey.
The reason behind its popularity is that it is mentioned as the main location of the movie on which the whole movie is based. Now, let's first talk about the demons Valak. Who is Valak? The origin of Valak and forms. In the Nun conjuring movies, Valak is an angel who was rejected by God and sent to hell. Valak was summoned by a duke at the Kertsa monastery, only to be trapped by members of the Vatican who killed the duke and then sealed the rift with the blood of Jesus Christ. But the question, is the demon nun based on a true story? We don't want to terrify you, but Valak is based on established mythology. Only the demon never appears as a nun. Valak, also going by other names including Valak, Volak, and Valax, was from a 17th century grimoire titled Clavicula Salomonis Regis, translated to The Lesser Key of Solomon. Medieval grimoires were basically guides on demons, spirits, and magic, and the Lesser Key of Solomon particularly described how to both conjure and banish supernatural entities. Valak is listed as the 62nd spirit, and he is depicted as a boy with angelic wings riding a two-headed dragon, very different from a possessed nun. According to the grimoire, Valak's main power is finding snakes and hidden treasures, and it is also described that he leads an army of 30 demons. This abbey is very much a real place that is considered to be haunted. The abbey is a Cistercian monastery that was built in the 1200s in the shape of a cross. During the Mongol invasion of 1241, the abbey experienced quite a bit of damage. So it was restored numerous times throughout its life. It stopped its functions in the 1500s, which means it was out of commission during the period the Nun is set in. The only part of the original monastery that is still intact is the church building. Ironically, it is now a Lutheran evangelical church. It is known as the Haunted Abbey, which means its reputation is quite a paranormal one. Tourists have reported vibrated walls and moving chairs. The only ghost sightings the abbey has been associated with are apparitions of monks in white robes. When the site was a full-functioning abbey, the monks indeed wore white robes. They also worked very hard every day, and their life expectancy was around 40 years old. According to the legends, they fasted all day and woke up at 3 a.m. every day. They also had church every 3 hours by the time evening hit. Plus, they all slept in one room with hay. Dozens of monks are buried on site, along with some soldiers who lost their lives during World War I. Perhaps the sightings are merely residual hauntings from their heyday. There are no records of demonic encounters at the abbey. The monks also were fearful of foreign invasion, so they supposedly dug a tunnel from the abbey to the Olt River, where there were boats standing by. There is another rumor that Matthias Corvinus, the king of Hungary, ordered the monks to leave Kartsa in 1474 and thus banished. This was because Kartsa was doing so well and became a wealth adversary to the Saxon guilds that controlled the commerce of Transylvania. Archaeologists did find something interesting while excavating the abbey. They found the remains of two abnormally tall individuals who were over 6'1" tall. While this may not seem odd today, it was certainly odd hundreds of years ago when people were shorter. Back in those days, it was not uncommon for people with disabilities and abnormalities to be sent to abbeys to live out their days away from the community. It looks like this might have been the case here. Since then, the Abbey of St. Carta has been a subject of fascination for paranormal enthusiasts and thrill seekers alike. Visitors report eerie encounters, including unexplained cold spots, disembodied voices, and feelings of being watched. The abbey has become a popular destination for those seeking a taste of the supernatural. The Abbey of Carta has been mentioned as the setting of the horror film The Nun, although the visuals and layout of the castle in the film do not match those of the real-life monastery. In fact, the scenes of the monastery in the film were filmed at Romania's Corvin Castle, which was built around the same time the original Carta monastery stopped being a functioning abbey. This castle is one of the most beautiful castles in Romania and one of the largest in Europe. Romania also sees this castle as one of the 7 wonders of Romania. This castle is in Hunedoara, more on the left side of the country. The history of this castle is a dark one, so this one is not for scary readers. They worked for a long time to make this castle, and it has also been destroyed several times. One thing always remained, and that was the doors to the dungeons. Here, 3 Turkish prisoners were locked up for many years. They were promised that if they dug until they found water, they would be released. It took them more than 15 years to reach water, and they would be freed from their suffering. Only the man who had made the promise was deceased, and his wife had other plans. The Turkish men were thrown back into prison, and one of these men wrote on the wall, "You have water, but no soul." With these words, he cursed the castle. The dungeon had had a lot of prisoners over time, so there was a torture chamber and a room where there were live bears. If you were declared dead, you were thrown into the room with the bears to be devoured. We don't really know how many, but many people have died in this castle. If so many people have been killed, it must be haunted, and that is confirmed to this day. For example, a monk was bricked into the wall because he was said to be a spy. It is said that he would still be spying in the castle. They have also heard that people hear footsteps, see shadows, and feel hands on their backs. If you want to visit this castle, you should be open to what you can see, hear, and feel. To this day, the many ghosts throughout the centuries seem to inundate the castle. The castle is often plagued by ghostly silhouettes that appear in photographs. Additionally, the castle has been susceptible to bouts of poltergeist activity that is particularly violent. This is usually blamed on the tortured souls that perished within the castle walls. But that's not the only spooky spot in Romania from which the nun may have derived inspiration. In the movie, a nun is sent to investigate the death of another nun at a Romanian monastery, and such a tragic event happened in real life just 13 years ago. In 2005, a 23-year-old nun at the Romanian Orthodox monastery in Târnacu, Romania, named Marisica Irina Cornici, was killed by a priest and other nuns during an attempted exorcism. Cornici had claimed the devil was talking to her, according to CBS News, and as a result she was tied to a cross, gagged, and starved for 3 days, resulting in her death. The priest who led the exorcism, Daniel Petre Corogianu, along with 4 nuns who assisted him, all faced charges and were sentenced to several years in prison in their connection with Cornici's death. So how much of the story about the nun is based on actual events? According to various articles, the ecclesiastical ghost, the nun, bears a resemblance to the real spectral nun the Warren family encountered during a trip to the haunted Borley Church in southern England in the 1970s. After learning of a series of eerie events at the church, including bells ringing without warning, rumors of a headless monk allegedly leaving cryptic messages on the walls, and a ghostly nun seen walking around at night, the Warrens recruit several photographers to accompany them in an attempt to capture evidence of the spirit. They eventually encounter a ghost in the churchyard, who according to the story is a nun, who was buried alive in the brick walls of the monastery centuries ago after having an affair with a monk. "I feel the presence of a nun in this church," Lorraine told the group, as they entered the church around midnight. It was pitch black, and there were no lit candles or lights. Their photographers snapped photos on a 35mm camera with infrared film. When they developed the images, what appeared to be a spectral nun was seen walking down the isla, praying. However, so a little bit of truth is hidden in a world of fantastical made-up lore about the nun. All this is a testament to the film being so well written and terrifying that it leaves people wondering if it was based on a true story. Did you think that the nun was based on a true story, or did you know the truth about the character?